What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to another pregame prediction video. It's Week 10 in the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's jump on in.
Yeah, here we go. Here's it out for Lamb. He's got it. He's gone. This is history. It's never happened in the history of the NFL.
Have no fear. Cooper Rush is here. It is rush time. It is rush season for the Dallas Cowboys. Unfortunately, Dak Prescott is not going to be playing for this game, and he's going to be missing some time due to that hamstring injury. And this season, as we all know, took a brutal turn. We know the Dallas Cowboys have not been playing good football, haven't really gotten it together offensively, haven't really, been healthy enough to determine whether this defense was going to be good or not. Regardless, we're 3-5. And we're taking on a red-hot team like the Philadelphia Eagles. They're coming in on a 4-game winning streak. They have really picked up speed. I mean, if you want to look at the schedule, for the Eagles, despite who they have played, they have found a way to win, and they are winning. I think you can look at the minuscule details in those games and maybe pick out where the Eagles have weaknesses and where they have flaws. But regardless, they're winning games. And look, I don't like the Eagles. Obviously, they are a rival. I detest the Philadelphia Eagles, but there is no doubt about the fact that they are talented. They have some really good players. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, a lot of players that are helping this team win at the moment. On the other side, the Dallas Cowboys are still dealing with injuries, right? But they're on a 3-game losing streak for the first time since 2020. And you have a scenario in this divisional rivalry here in Week 10 where an unstoppable force is meeting an immovable object. And this is the first time that they are meeting this season. As we all know, division opponents meet twice, and this first one's going to be taking place at AT&T Stadium. Last year, these two teams split. Each team won at home. And if you need any more information on this rivalry, neither team has swept the other team since 2021. And if you look at the all-time record between this division rivalry, it's very much so one-sided. If we're looking at regular season matchups, the Dallas Cowboys have a record of 71 games to 55 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. On top of that, you have a lot of storylines going in this game. You got Cooper Rush starting, as we all know, who is 5-1 as a starter in the National Football League, and that one loss came against the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles won that game, barely won that game, 26-17, despite Cooper Rush only throwing 3 interceptions. And then on the other hand, you have a little bit of a Kellen Moore revenge game. Kellen Moore being the offensive coordinator for years in Dallas. Now he makes his way over to Philadelphia after a short stint in Los Angeles for the Chargers. And he is 0-1 when playing the Dallas Cowboys and trying to get revenge. But you have a very petty head coach, Nick Sirianni, down there and up there in Philadelphia, who, is going to want more than anything to run up the score against the Dallas Cowboys and want a big win for Kellen Moore. And if you look a little bit closer at these two teams, the Philadelphia Eagles are 3-1 on the road. Successful, of course, you can look at the schedule, who they beat, but they are 3-1 on the road. On the other side, the Dallas Cowboys are 0-3 on at home. For a moment, we thought they were going to be a road team, but they sit at 3-2 at the road. But here at home, they're 0-3. And it's been a while, man. We need a home win. I don't know if it's going to happen this week, but Cowboys Nation, they're starving. They're 0-3 at home. And, it all fell apart there against Green Bay in the playoff game, and they have just not performed well. I mean, they've been outscored. I think it's an obscure number, like 119-53 is how much they've been outscored at home. And it's terrible, man. For a place where the Dallas Cowboys, for a time, dominated and where they won 16 straight home games, for them to just look the way that they have at home is very discouraging. It's very awful. But be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We have a big one here on CBS. First game on CBS. Can you believe it took till week 10 to have Nance and Romo give us the call on this game? But let's go ahead and jump on in between these two teams. Cowboys defense and Eagles offense is the first thing we're always looking at. Of course, these are yards per game, but you can see, like I said, Eagles are talented. their offense represents that. A top 10 in yards in offense, passing a little bit on the lower side of the spectrum. Of course, they've been dealing with injuries. A.J. Brown has been coming and going. Devontae Smith has dealt with injuries. And Jalen Hurts, not so much of that passing quarterback. I mean, take issue with it, but he's more of a runner, and he's good as a runner. But they obviously lean a little bit more towards the run than the pass, especially on top of injuries, and that would explain why the result is what you get there, 25th in passing. But on the other spectrum, right, rushing, they're third in the NFL in terms of yards, and that's no surprise, right? Hurts runs the ball all the time, and you got Saquon Barkley out there, and the Cowboys defense is 16th in the National Football League. Now, we're talking about the Cowboys defense. DaRon Bland, still don't know the status of what his status would be for Sunday's game. Obviously, he's not on the IR. His practice window has been activated. It would help. It would very much so help this team if DaRon Bland is out there. Of course, I record these things on Tuesday night, so I just don't have that information on hand, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. And obviously follow me on TikTok and Instagram for those updates as we get closer to Sunday. Now, Micah Parsons, there has been a source out there that says Micah Parsons could return, has his best chance to return against the Philadelphia Eagles, and that will be very helpful because one of the things that this Dallas Cowboys defense lacks, and I was actually very glad to see it against Atlanta, is pressure. There is no one getting pressure on the quarterback. And it's always hard to play a mobile quarterback such as Jalen Hurts. And I feel like Dallas Cowboys defenses still have not figured it out. They definitely have a tough time navigating a mobile quarterback, one that can extend the pocket, extend the play, run outside of the pocket. And you got another dual threat attack here with Jalen Hurts. And obviously we've seen him multiple times. There have been times that we have been able to handle him. But again, you look at those teams and those defenses where we were able to handle him. We were stacked. We had the personnel. And at this moment, we don't. And I'm not going to use injuries as excuse, but I think if everyone was still healthy, we would still have an issue with it, just because scheme and Mike Zimmer being on that 1-year deal that we have. Like I said earlier, expect the Eagles to go all out versus the Cowboys because they're petty. It's a rivalry. If there's no pettiness and rivalry, then it's not a rivalry. Just think of Dan Campbell type revenge that the Lions had on the Cowboys. They're going to be aiming for that. The Eagles want to beat the Cowboys more than anything. And especially Kellen Moore, all those years in Dallas, has not beaten the Cowboys since leaving Dallas. And now he's going to have 2 chances. And, I was just thinking about it the other day. I think this is definitely going to be a very humbling season. I mean, it already is. If you haven't felt the humility, it's going to be a very humbling season, and it's going to be hard for us as fans to watch that. But I'm particularly happy to see Jerry Jones go through it. He's going to have to see a few games where I believe Kellen Moore is going to run up the score on the Cowboys, and he's going to have to sit there and watch Dan Quinn for the Commanders run up the score on Dallas, and so we're going to get humbled. I don't think it's going to be this game, but just prepare yourself, especially with Dak Prescott being out for an amount of time. I believe he's probably going to hit IR, so he's going to be out for 4 weeks. Just prepare yourselves. I'm telling you right now, prepare yourselves. It's going to be a lot of humble pie for the rest. And we're only in week 10, but this is just not the best matchup for the Cowboys. On top of, dealing with injuries and not having who they need, and, obviously not having the best defense and not having the best personnel that they've had in a few years. I mean, you got Saquon Barkley in the backfield, just a running attack, a passing attack. And of course, we played him, right? We've been in the situation where we played Saquon, and we've never allowed Saquon to have a really good game when he was with the Giants. But the reason why that was the case is Saquon was the only weapon for the Giants. So if you could take out Saquon and put the hyper focus on Saquon, you have a good chance of beating the Giants. And we have beat the Giants. But it's difficult because the Eagles have so many ways to beat you. Sure, let's take out Saquon, but you still got to worry about Jalen Hurts running the football against you, as well as passing it to Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, who's questionable for this game, Dallas Goedert, who's a really good option at the tight end. There's just a lot of weapons that Howie Roseman, the GM for the Philadelphia Eagles, has helped the Eagles. And that's just something that the Cowboys, they don't have a lot of answers defensively. Even though I like our players, Eric Kendricks, I like DeMarvion Overshown. I like those players, but there comes a moment where enough is enough. And I think even if you throw Micah Parsons into that equation, I don't necessarily believe it answers all the questions. But again, the problem is we don't have a defensive line. And when you don't have a defensive line, you can't stop the run and you can't generate pressure. I really love the way Carl Lawson played. I mean, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. That's what we need. We need that type of production. If he can continue that same efficiency, does it close the gap? Yes, but is it going to have us return to the ways that we had with Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator? I don't believe so, but we just don't have a defensive line. Just so many underwhelming performances. Mozzie Smith not capitalizing on his previous performances. Osa Odighizuwa not being the strong force that he usually is. No presence on the outside because Nealon, Sam Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence are out. Now, Micah Parsons, if he does come back, does that help? Of course it does, but the Cowboys are extremely outnumbered. Now, the thing that you can rely on in this game, unbiased and realistically, is the Eagles being naive. And that's something that I told you that actually happened against the Falcons. I told you all the Falcons had to do in week 9 was just give it to Bijan. Just run it. And I said I didn't trust them because they're going to want to throw the ball. And what did they do? They threw the ball that opened the window for pressure and turnovers. And for a while, it was a game against Atlanta. Same thing here. I don't trust Philadelphia enough to believe in running the ball and being consistent because they got Nick Sirianni, who's going to want to run up the score, where that is a weakness of his, where he likes to make a statement. And Kellen Moore, man, we know him more better than anyone. He's not going to be consistent. He's not. So I'm not saying that the Cowboys defense is going to dominate the Eagles offense. I think the Eagles offense has a clear advantage, but there are going to be opportunities and chances for the Cowboys here. And if they can execute that, the margin of error is very slim for the Dallas Cowboys defense. So there is a game plan here where we can, compete. I just don't see it, but there is something there where the Cowboys can compete. Again, my prediction for this is I just believe the Eagles are overwhelming in this matchup. I feel like they have found that they're meeting the Dallas Cowboys at one of their lowest points, and even if we see some sort of resurrection in this defense and a valiant effort, I just don't believe it's going to be enough to stop the weapons that we have on the Eagles. We're going to need a little bit of help, not just from the Cowboys stopping the Eagles, but from the Eagles holding themselves back as well. So there we go. We looked at the defense versus the offense. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and let's jump over to the Cowboys offense versus this Eagles defense. Cowboys offense, obviously 22nd in the league, passing 8th in the league, obviously last in the league in rushing. Not going to spend too much time on that because it really changes, right? Dak Prescott is going to be injured, going to be out for a good time, and things have changed. And now, I really do recommend you watch the All-22 film breakdown that I put out for Cooper Rush because we talked about how this offense will look moving forward. And if I could just recap that for you really quickly, I think Cooper Rush, obviously we know what we're going to get, right? Cooper Rush is 5-1 as a starter, and that one loss came against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philly on Sunday Night Football back in 2022. But Cooper Rush, I feel like, in a nutshell, fits the system better at this moment for Mike McCarthy and what Mike McCarthy envisions for this offense. Now, am I saying Cooper Rush is better than Dak Prescott? I am not saying that. So don't twist me up. Don't twist my words or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But Cooper Rush, again, look at the film breakdown. But I think Cooper Rush really, he believes in the system. He trusts the system. So he's really depending on that first read. And I think once that first read comes out, that ball is coming out whether you like it or not. How you combat that, and the Eagles, I believe, have a really good defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, who has given Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys a lot of issues in prior years, being with the Denver Broncos, being with the Miami Dolphins. Obviously no Dak in this game, but he can definitely disrupt what the Cowboys are trying to do offensively. And I said that in my season prediction video back in May. But how you combat that, right? How do you combat Mike McCarthy's offensive scheme, his West Coast offense, especially with the quarterback like Cooper Rush, who is first read? Once you take that first read out, then you're forcing Cooper Rush to extend the play, find that second option, and that's where things get messy. Because when you look for that second read, at that point, the pressure's already in your face or it's already there. So we need really good offensive line play at that moment to keep that clock going for Cooper Rush to find that open man. Or you need a guy who can extend the play, move up in the pocket, and Cooper Rush just isn't that guy. So that's this whole, matchup in a nutshell. Is the Cowboys are very limited, and they really need to rely heavily on their run game, which they have a run game. And they finally figured out, it's week 10, but they finally figured out that, hey, if we give the ball to Rico, we have our best chance at establishing some decent type of run game. And that's the winning ticket here. Again, same way I feel about the defense. There's a very small margin of error. Is there a game plan that exists for the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Philadelphia Eagles? Absolutely. Any given Sunday. Do I believe that the defense is going to dominate the Eagles offense? No. Do I believe the Cowboys offense is going to have success against the Eagles defense? It's hard to see that. But I'm just saying that there is a slim margin of error where if they attack and execute what they're supposed to, could they find themselves in a competitive game against the Eagles? Absolutely. But a lot of that is dependent on that run game. And I think if the Cowboys can get that run game going successfully and play complementary football where the defense gives the offense an opportunity and the offense is complementing the defense's efforts, could we see a game on Sunday? I believe so, but it really depends on how well Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer prepare their play designs and their scheme designs and their route designs, and how much they rely on this running game and how much we can get that going. Again, the Cowboys offense is very limited moving forward, but with this Eagles defense, it's going to be a tall task. Well, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking out this pregame prediction video. We took a look at this defense versus this offense, the Cowboys offense versus the Eagles defense. And this is my game prediction here for week 10, Sunday. This game is on CBS. We finally get Romo and Nance giving us the call. And this is the second division game for the Dallas Cowboys. And they have talked about how, even though there has been a slow start to the season, just how important these division games are. Is the season over? No. But is it dwindling? Absolutely. And if you still want us to believe in this team that there is some sort of chance at the postseason, you got to win this game. But the question is, can you win this game? And unbiased and realistically, I just don't see it. Now, me saying that, am I saying that there's absolutely zero chance for the Cowboys to win this game? No, it's the NFL. Anything can happen any given Sunday, right? The Cowboys have obviously been on the receiving end of that a lot of the times, but is there something here that the Cowboys can muster up where they can upset the Eagles? Sure. And Mike McCarthy can be that coach. I mean, he's done it with Andy Dalton back in 2020 where we beat the Vikings. And he did it with Matt Flynn with the Green Bay Packers when they came back and beat the Dallas Cowboys. So their backs are against the wall. And I think we're going to see a much more creative offense here. And I do believe we get sort of a valiant effort from this defense. But at the end of the day, I mean, the Cowboys are shorthanded. Obviously without Dak Prescott, but they're without a lot of players that are very necessary in order to have a really good fighting chance here against the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, man, I hate picking the Eagles. I really detest picking Philly in matchups. It's one of the worst rivalries in my opinion. I just don't like them. But, I have to stay true to my unbiased and realistic slogan in that the Cowboys are injured, and even if they were healthy, they're not that good. Now, the Eagles definitely have their flaws and their weaknesses, but they are talented at the very end of the day. So this is a game that the Eagles can and should win. So without further ado, my final score prediction for this matchup for Week 10 between the Cowboys and the Eagles, as I do believe the Eagles decisively win this game. I'm going to choose the Eagles winning this, and it's going to hurt to do this, but Eagles unbiasedly and realistically win this game 29-16 over the Dallas Cowboys. Well, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching this pregame prediction video, but be sure to drop down your predictions down below. And of course, check out the rest of the videos. Check out the Madden prediction video that will be coming out tomorrow. And of course, I will see you Sunday after the game. Go Cowboys.
Here's it out